Sierra sat staring at the dozens of notifications lighting up her phone. Her name was trending on social media again. The latest teaser for Love in Rocket City had hit the internet, and Darius had outdone himself. The clip opened with a slow zoom on Sierra's face during one of her confessionals. Her carefully chosen words had been edited to imply that she knew more about Jasmine's disappearance than she was letting on. The title card, Secrets in Rocket City, hovered ominously over a montage of tense moments featuring Sierra, Michael, and Jasmine. It was a masterclass in manipulation, and it was working. Sierra's phone buzzed again. This time it was a text from Kendra. Kendra, girl, we need to talk ASAP. Malik saw the teaser and thinks you and Michael are hiding something. What's going on? Sierra groaned, tossing her phone onto the bed. The walls were closing in and she felt like she was running out of air. She hadn't even had time to process her conversation with Michael the night before, and now the whole world was scrutinizing her every move. A loud knock at the door startled her. She froze, her pulse quickening. It was too early for an unannounced visitor, and she wasn't ready to face anyone. Not yet. The knock came more, insistent this time. Reluctantly, she got up and made her way to the door. Peering through the peephole, she felt a mixture of relief and dread. It was Darius. Sierra opened the door just enough to glare at him. What do you want? Darius smiled, the kind of smile that made her skin crawl. He was dressed impeccably, as always. His tailored suit and polished shoes, a stark contrast to the chaos he often created. Good morning to you too, he said, his tone dripping with faux charm. Mind if I come in? I do, actually, Sierra shot back. Whatever you have to say, you can say it right here. Darius chuckled, leaning casually against the doorframe. You're feistier than usual. I like it, but we really should talk. It's about the show and the teaser. Sierra's jaw tightened. You have no right to put that out, she said, stepping forward. You're making it look like I had something to do with Jasmine's disappearance. Darius tilted his head, a smug smile playing on his lips. You think this is about rights? This is about ratings, Sierra. And let's be honest, you're the face of the show. The audience is obsessed with you. I'm simply giving them what they want. You're disgusting, Sierra spat, slamming the door in his face before he could say another word. She didn't need his threats or his manipulations clouding her already chaotic world. But the damage had been done. Darius knew how to get under her skin, and now she had to figure out how to stop him before it was too late. Sierra drove to meet Michael, her thoughts spinning. She replayed her encounter with Darius over and over, and for once, she decided she wouldn't hold back. If they were going to face this thing together, she couldn't keep things from him. Michael was already at the park when she arrived, leaning against a picnic table. His expression was grim, and the tension in his shoulders told her he wasn't in the mood for pleasantries. You're late, he said, his voice tight. Sierra crossed her arms. You said it was urgent. What's going on? Michael hesitated, glancing around as if to make sure they were alone. I think Darius knows more than he's letting on. He called me this morning, and he wasn't subtle about it. He hinted he knows about us and the baby. Sierra's stomach dropped, but she kept her voice steady. He doesn't just know. He came to my house this morning. Michael's head snapped up, his eyes wide with alarm. What? Why didn't you tell me? I'm telling you now, she said defensively. He wanted to remind me who's in control. He said if I try to go against him, he'll expose everything, us, the adoption, all of it. Michael raked a hand through his hair, pacing. He's playing us like pawns and we're letting him. Sierra watched him, her own anger simmering beneath the surface. Then let's stop letting him. We know how Darius operates. He's all about control and drama. What if we took that away from him? What if we told the truth on our own terms? Michael stopped pacing, turning to face her. You're saying we should take the narrative back? Exactly, Sierra said, her voice gaining strength. If we're honest about our past, about the adoption, about how we got here, Darius can't use it against us. We control the story, not him. Michael frowned, his skepticism evident. You really think that'll work? The audience isn't exactly forgiving. Sierra stepped closer, her eyes locked on his. It doesn't matter what the audience thinks. What matters is that we stop letting Darius hold this over us. If we show them who we really are, if we're raw and honest, people will respect that. Or at least, they'll stop believing Darius's version of events. Michael studied her for a long moment before nodding slowly. Okay, but if we're doing this, we need to be smart. No half-truths, no holding back. We lay it all out. Sierra's heart pounded, a mix of fear and determination surging through her. Agreed. If we're going down together. Michael held out his hand, and Sierra took it, a silent pact forming between them. For better or for worse, they were in this together now, and for the first time in weeks, Sierra felt a glimmer of hope. Michael's hand lingered in hers, the warmth of his touch grounding her for a moment in a way nothing else could. He gave her a small squeeze, his eyes searching hers for reassurance. Sierra, his voice was soft, almost breaking. I don't know what I'd do if I lost you too. The vulnerability in his words hit her like a wave. For a moment, she forgot about the cameras, Darius, Jasmine, everything except the man standing in front of her. Michael wasn't just her first love. He was her anchor, the person who had always seen her for who she truly was. She stepped closer, her free hand reaching up to rest slightly on his chest. His heartbeat was strong and steady beneath her palm, and for the first time in days, she felt like she could breathe. You're not going to lose me, she said, her voice firm despite the emotion tightening her throat. But we can't keep running from this. We have to face it together. Michael let out a shaky breath, his hand coming up to cup her face. His thumb brushed against her cheek, and she leaned into the touch, her eyes fluttering closed. You have no idea how much I've missed you, he whispered, his voice heavy with longing. When she opened her eyes, their gazes locked, and the weight of everything they had been holding back, years of love, pain, and unspoken truths, came crashing down between them. And then, before either of them could second guess it, he leaned down, and their lips met in a kiss that was anything but subtle. It was desperate and raw, filled with all the words they couldn't say and all the feelings they couldn't deny. Her hand slid up to his shoulders, clinging to them as if letting go would shatter her entirely. Michael pulled up closer, his arms wrapping around her like he was trying to shield her from the world. For a few fleeting seconds, nothing else mattered, just them and the fire they had tried hard to extinguish but could never quite put out. But then the weight of reality came crashing back in. Sierra was the first to pull away, her breathing ragged as she stepped back, putting a small but significant distance between them. her eyes darting around the empty park as if the shadows could somehow reveal what they were doing. "We can't," she said, her voice trembling. "Not like this." Michael looked at her, his expression a mix of frustration and heartbreak. "I know, but damn it, Sierra, I can't pretend anymore. I love you. I've always loved you." She felt her heart crack open at his words, but she shook her head, her guilt rushing to the surface. "And Jasmine, Michael, she's missing. We don't even know if she's alive." The mention of Jasmine hung heavy in the air, cutting through the tension like a knife. Michael ran a hand through his hair, his jaw tightening. "You think I don't feel it? Every second of every day, I wonder what happened to her. If this is my fault, if I..." He stopped himself, his voice breaking. Sierra stepped closer, her hand brushing against his arm. "It's not your fault," she said softly, though the words felt hollow even to her. "But we can't ignore it, Michael. Until we know what happened to Jasmine, we're going to be carrying this weight, and so will everyone else." Michael nodded, his shoulders slumping as if the weight of the world had just settled on them. "You're right," he said quietly. "We have to figure out what happened. For her. For us." Sierra felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes, but she blinked them away, forcing herself to stay strong. "And we will," she said, her voice steady. "But we can't let Darius or anyone else destroy us in the process. We'll tell the truth, our truth, and we'll fight to get through this together." Michael reached for her hand again, his grip firm and reassuring. "Together," he repeated, as if saying it aloud would make it real. But as they stood there, the reality of Jasmine's disappearance lingered like a shadow over them, a reminder that, no matter how much they loved each other, their lives would never be the same until the truth came to light. We need to take control, Sierra, not just of our story, but of finding out what really happened. She turned to him, her brow furrowing. "What are you saying? That we investigate Jasmine's disappearance ourselves?" Michael shrugged, his eyes darkening. "Why not? No one knows her like we do. Not the police, not Darius, not anyone. If there's something that doesn't add up, we'll see it. And maybe," he hesitated, swallowing hard, "maybe we'll find something that clears our names." Sierra felt a chill run down her spine. The idea of actively investigating Jasmine's disappearance was both terrifying and oddly empowering. It wasn't just about proving their innocence. It was about finally taking back the control they had lost. But there was a danger to it, a risk they might uncover something they weren't ready for. "What if we find out something we don't want to know?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Michael looked at her, his gaze steady. "Then at least we'll know the truth. And the truth, no matter how hard it is better than this nightmare we're living." Sierra nodded slowly, a mix of fear and determination swirling in her chest. She hated feeling powerless, and this was the first time in weeks that she had even a flicker of control. "Okay," she said, "but if we're going to do this, we have to be smart. We can't let Darius or anyone else know what we're up to." Michael smirked, a flicker of the old charm that had always drawn her in. "Don't worry, I've learned a few things about keeping secrets." Sierra rolled her eyes, but a small smile tugged at her lips. For a brief moment, it felt like they were back to being the teenagers who had dreamed of escaping their small town together. But the moment was fleeting, and reality came crashing back just as quickly. "We should start with the night Jasmine disappeared," Sierra said, slipping into problem-solving mode. "Who was at the party? What did they see? If we can map out a timeline, maybe we'll find something the police missed. Michael nodded, his expression serious. And we need to figure out what Darius knows. He's been too calm through all of this. If he's hiding something, we'll find it. Sierra hesitated, glancing at Michael. And what if Darius really does know about the adoption? About us? Michael's gaze softened, and he reached out to brush a stray curl from her face. Then we deal with it. Her heart clenched at the warmth in his words, but she quickly pushed the feeling aside. There was too much at stake to let her emotions cloud her judgment. Okay, she said firmly. We'll figure this out. But Michael, we can't let anyone else get caught in the crossfire. No more collateral damage. Michael nodded solemnly. Agreed. As they walked back to their cars, the silence between them was thick, and unspoken fears and the heavy burden of what lay ahead. Sierra couldn't shake the feeling that they were standing on the edge of something dangerous, that every step forward would pull them deeper into a web they might never escape. And then there was Jasmine, her memory haunting every corner of Sierra's mind. No matter how much she tried to convince herself otherwise, a small nagging voice whispered that they might have a small nagging voice whispered that they might have played a part in her disappearance. Not directly, perhaps, but in the way their affair had unraveled the fragile threads of Michael's marriage, setting off a chain of events they couldn't control. What if she had left because of them? What if their secrets had pushed her over the edge? Sierra shook her head, as if trying to dispel the thoughts. There was no time for guilt, not now. They had a plan, a mission, and for the first time in weeks, she felt a glimmer of hope that they might survive this. But as she started her car and drove away, a single thought lingered in the back of her mind. What if Jasmine wasn't the only one being hunted?